Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we're looking at the 2026 House elections, and for the month of August I'm getting my up-to-date House prediction for the 2026 elections. Now this video I'm first going to go through the 2026 House map as it's currently done, going from the 2024 elections, and make my current prediction based on this current map. Then after I do this, I am going to talk about the potential redistricting going on the House map and how that could change things going into the 2026 elections. So if you're unfamiliar, the current House composition is Republicans hold 220 House seats, Democrats 215 after the 2024 elections. And just to give you an idea, the Republicans won 50.6% of the nationwide House vote, Democrats won 47.8%, meaning Republicans won by 2.8% at the national House level. And this is a very important distinction to note here as you go through these states, because the generic ballot currently at this point in time is roughly Democrat plus 2.9, where the early averages. So I actually can use on the website map.jacksonjude.com, where you can actually edit the margins to show you what a margin based on the 2024 results could look like. So the Republicans, won by 2.8%. So going from 2.8 to 2.9 for the Democrats, well, that would be essentially about a 4.1% shift towards the Democrats. So we're going to do that. We're going to shift the House map by about 4.1%. Now, obviously, it may not go 100% this way, as each election could be different, and if the results are drawn differently, then we'll go from there. But the Democrats, based on this result, will end up going from 229 to 206 for the Republicans. Now, for my own personal predictions for this race, I think Maine 2nd District could be very interesting. Jared Golden's going to be in for a very tough fight versus the Republican former Governor Paul LePage. But first, we're going to just go state by state and just do it this way. Alabama, nothing changes. Alaska, I think the Republicans hold on and win there. Arizona, very close districts in the 1st and 6th District. Now, based on the current shift map, that should be red. I'm sorry, I can't zoom in on it, so I'll have to just do this to zoom in. Arizona, based on these current rankings on past results, goes for these two districts shifting towards the Democratic side based on that point percentage shift on the 2024 map. Now, my past prediction, I did have these ones narrowly being in the Republican category, but if the Democrats are winning by very narrow margins, then we're going to do that. We're going to shift them Arizona 1 and Arizona 6 with Juan Ciscomani. We're both going to give these to the Democrats in very close under 1% margins. That gets the Democrats up to 208. Arkansas will stay the way it is. California is going to be really interesting because you have some close races in California 13 with Adam Gray and California 45 as well with Derek Tran. Now, these races barely flipped in 2024, but these races are expected to stay with the Democrats in this election environment if the Democrats are doing better in the House overall vote. So in this one, Adam Gray would stay in the Democratic side, and California 45 would likely stay in the Democratic side as well. And just to ensure I'm not missing anything, it would look like that. Now, California could be very interesting as the prospect of redistricting is brought up. Gavin Newsom has threatened to redistrict California if Texas and Ohio redistrict. Now, there is more of a legal hurdle Democrats have to go through in California to do so, but that could be a very interesting prospect to see how some of these closer Republican districts, like this district, California 41 or California 22, could potentially be redrawn into more Democratic favorable districts. Now, Colorado has some very close races here with Colorado 8. Specifically, Gabe Evans barely won back in 2024, and this new composition change, this district actually flips to the Democrats based on the 2024 results. So we're going to give the Democrats this win here, or this district, by a very narrow margin. We'd also likely see the 3rd district, which was a likely Republican win, probably go down into the lean Republican category. Connecticut, everything would pretty much remain the same. Delaware would remain the same. Florida, nothing really changes, I don't think, in terms of the 2026 map right now. The results may change a little bit in some of these counties, but nothing really gets too drastic on that. Georgia remains the same, Hawaii the same, Idaho the same, Illinois. I don't think there's any really competitive districts here at the general election level that'll remain the same. Indiana will probably remain the same. If anything, Indiana's one district may get a little bit more blue in this scenario. Iowa is going to be very, very interesting because Iowa has two very close districts with Marionette Miller Meeks in Iowa 1 and Zach Nunn in Iowa 3. Now, based on the map shift feature, these both districts end up going blue in this scenario. Now, Marionette Miller Meeks only barely won in 2024 by less than, I believe, 1% of the vote. So it was a very close race. I think it's very possible we see her lose in 2026, even if the shift towards the Democrats isn't that drastic. But Iowa 3, going for the Democrats, is a little bit more of a bold statement. But the last time the Democrats won the House vote, this district did go for the Democrats. So based off the current numbers, Iowa 3 would flip for the Dems. Kansas would pretty much remain the way that it is. Kentucky would probably remain the same. It's possible Andy Barr's seat, the 6th district, gets more competitive, but again, I think he'd probably hold on, or the Republican that runs there would hold on and win there. Louisiana remains the same. Maine 2nd district, the margins would suggest that Jared Golden should defeat Paul LePage based on the electoral shift in precedent, but the early polling shows a very close race for Golden versus LePage, where I think LePage actually may end up winning this race in the very Republican Maine 2nd district. Right now, narrowly putting it until Democrat, but I do think that one could potentially go toward the Republicans. Not a done deal, but it certainly could be. Maryland, I don't think changes unless they try and redistrict. Here, Massachusetts, same thing. Michigan's going to be interesting because Michigan 7 with Tom Barrett is one of the Democrats' top targets in 2026, as well as Michigan 10 with John James. Based on those shift rankings, Michigan 7 does end up going Democratic, but Michigan 10 does not. So we'll assign those, and that would give the Democrats up to 215. Michigan 10 staying Republican, Republicans at 208. Minnesota would remain pretty much the same, other than the 2nd district with Andrew Craig getting a little bit more Democratic. Mississippi stays unchanged. Missouri, it really depends on if they try and redraw the districts here. That could get more competitive. Montana remains the same. Nebraska, the 2nd district with Don Bacon, now the Republican representative is not running again, almost going to be guaranteed a Democratic flip, and the margins will likely be a lot stronger here in the likely Democratic category in this scenario. Nevada, things I think stay unchanged there. New Hampshire, both seats I think will remain Democratic in this scenario. New Jersey, Tom Keene's district could be something very close to watch for in this race. As in the current House feature, Tom Keene would still narrowly hold on here, but this is a seat the Democrats are watching very closely. That one barely stays in the Republican category. New Mexico, 2nd district with Democrat Gabriel Vasquez. In this scenario, it would remain Democratic, getting them to 216. Now, New York, some close races as well, including New York 4, but that one ends up staying blue in this scenario. New York 17 with Mike Lawler very barely stays in the red category on that one. And I don't believe I'm missing any. Go to North Carolina. Democrat Don Davis would hold on and win there. North Dakota at large would stay red. Ohio. Now, based on the current composition of Ohio, these 3 districts, the 9th, the 1, and the 13 would all remain Democratic. But these could potentially be getting redrawn, and I'll go into that in just one moment. Oklahoma stays red. Oregon stays the way it is. Pennsylvania, some very close races here. Based on the 2024 results, all 3 of these close races actually flip towards the Democratic side, with Pennsylvania 8 with Rob Bresnahan, Pennsylvania 7 with Ryan McKenzie, and Pennsylvania 10 with Scott Perry, all flipping to the Democrats based on the 2024 results. Rhode Island stays the same, South Carolina stays the same, South Dakota the same, Tennessee the same. Texas, before redistricting, probably all staying the same, in Texas 34, staying in the Democratic side. Utah remains, Vermont at large, Virginia, the 2nd district, this is going to be Republican Jen Kiggins. This district very narrowly flips to the Democrats based on the 2024 results and the shift on this one. Then we have Washington, where the 3rd district, Maria Perez, would also win that one. West Virginia would remain as is. And then we have the state of Wisconsin with the 3rd district with Derek Van Orden. This one, based on the 2024 results, would narrowly shift and go towards the Democrats. So based on that, the current results would essentially be the Democrats at 227 House seats. Republicans would be at 208 based on the current generic ballot numbers for the Real Clear Politics polling average for 2026. Now, it's important to note, obviously, we're in August of 2026. We don't know what the generic ballot's going to be looking like come November 2026, if the polls are even correct, if everything translates, how the country is doing, how the economy is doing, how President Trump and the Republicans are viewed. These are very wild questions that are left up for grabs. But right now, based on the current generic ballot numbers, the Democrats are on track to win the House for, I believe, the first time since not that long ago, actually. I think they had it in 2020 and the Republicans won it back in 2022. So it hasn't been that long, but if the Democrats do this, they win back the House, they get 227 House seats, Republicans get 208. And this is why Republicans are having the conversation about redistricting in a lot of states, because they know the writing on the wall right now is based on the current House map. Republicans are probably not going to hold a majority if everything goes the way the current polling suggests that it will. So first we'll look at the state of Ohio, as this is one of the first states that was mentioned. Ohio, at very least, if Republicans redistrict, they're hoping to get more House seats out of the 1st District, out of the 9th and the 13th, flipping to the Republican side. The Republicans could try and gerrymander around Ohio 3 and Ohio 11 and get these areas, but I think they end up staying on the Democratic side. But either way, that gets the Democrats down 3 seats, 224. Republicans are at 211. So that cuts into the Democrats' margin a little bit. Now, Republicans and President Trump specifically have also made a note about the state of Florida. Florida, Ron DeSantis has teased potential redistricting as well and trying to get some seats out of Florida, maybe trying to net an extra 5 or so seats in Florida. The first targets I think Republicans would seek to eliminate are probably the 9th District in Florida 9 with Darren Soto and definitely Jared Moskowitz District in Florida 23. Now those two would be probably the most likely Republican targets. Republicans could try and go after some of these more solid Democratic seats, but again, that would be probably very tough and may put some other Republicans potentially in danger of losing. But what if Republicans net 2 out of Florida just on that alone? Well, that gets the Republicans to 213, Democrats are at 222. Now we go to the state of Texas. Texas has been getting a lot of talk, and they've been really reigniting the conversations of redistricting. 2 Republican targets right away are Texas 34 with Vicente Gonzalez and Texas 28 with Henry Cuellar. Those are some seats the Republicans certainly want to target. Now, that's only 2 seats right there, but they do make a very significant impact. Republicans say they want to try and get an extra 5 House seats out of the state of Texas. It's going to be very tough to do, though, as the Dallas area is all pretty strong Democratic. The Houston area is also very strong Democratic as well. And Central Texas around Austin is also very Democratic. So Republicans could try and get those, but I feel like that's going to be very tough. You would need a really radical gerrymander in that regard to do that. But even if the Republicans do that, they get Ohio, Texas, and Florida at a very conservative estimate. That gets them closer, but Democrats still hold the majority at 220. Republicans are at 215. But the Republicans are also targeting, potentially, the state of Missouri, where the Democrats currently hold 2 House districts in the 5th and the 1st District. Maybe the Republicans try and redistrict and gerrymander these seats and get rid of these 2 Democratic wins. Well, if they could do that, that would get the Democrats at 218, Republicans at 217. So with very big redistricting in Missouri and pretty considerable redistricting in Texas, Florida, and Ohio, that would get it within a 1-seat House majority for the Democrats based on the current generic ballot polling for 2026, which essentially means if the generic ballot ends up underestimating the Democrats or being lower for the Democrats than it is right now, the Republicans may be able to hold the House by 1 or 2 seats if the gerrymandering goes 100% their way. Now, that is a big if, because the Republicans aren't going to just redistrict all these maps, and the Democrats aren't just going to have anything to say about it. As I mentioned, California Governor Gavin Newsom has threatened to redistrict his map as well to try and stop the Republicans from doing it in Texas and in Ohio. Now, what could that look like? Well, immediately 2 districts come to mind that are very competitive, and the 22nd with David Valadao, and 41 with Ken Calvert, and another one, California 40 with Young Kim. If the Democrats redistrict here and they can draw out these seats, that would get California and the Democrats back up to 221 to the Republicans 214. Now, could Democrats try and radically redraw and get California's 3rd district as well? But just sticking with that right now, that would get the Democrats up another handful of seats. Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul in New York has also expressed interest in trying to redraw the map and gerrymander the map to combat the Republicans here. And New York could have some very considerable gains here. First one I'm watching is Mike Lawler's district in New York 17. That's already a top target for the Democrats. I'm sure Democrats would love to try and redistrict that one out. Maybe New York won't, but Nicholas LaLauda could potentially be a target as well. That one's a little bit more of a stretch than New York 17 is, but maybe Democrats are able to draw that one out as well. That would get Democrats up to 223, Republicans 212. And the state of Maryland, where there's only one Republican House seat in the 1st District, if the map is drawn in a certain way, it is possible Democrats could get that seat as well. So even if Republicans redistrict and gerrymander the maps in Texas, in Ohio, in Florida, and in Missouri, and that gets them within getting close to the majority, the Democrats, if they can get the legal process to play out, could come back and also gerrymander in California, in New York, and in, I'm totally blanking, I'm sorry, California, New York, and Maryland. That could give the Democrats an extra few seats and essentially negate the changes made by the Republicans. So this is all a very fascinating conversation. We'll have to wait and see what actually happens. Ohio and Texas, I do believe, have laws in the books that do allow for a mid-decade redistrict, whereas California and New York, I don't believe do. The governors would have to call for a special section of the legislature to do that, and I'm not sure if the state Supreme Courts would step in and allow this or not allow this, but this is all a very big conversation happening in political circles, this topic of redistricting, and putting it bluntly, if you're not 100% like kept up with all the politics and elections, it probably seems like a very convoluted and confusing mess. And I've been trying to keep up with it as much as possible, and even I think it's kind of a bit of a confusing mess. So we'll have to wait and see how it all goes. As any news breaks on these maps and such, I will, of course, be doing videos and trying to keep you updated as much as possible. But there's real potential here that the redistricting process, if there is any, come 2026, to get really complicated and really messy. At the core fundamental levels of it, based on the 2024 U.S. House map, assuming nothing changes, and the current generic ballot numbers right now, I would say it's more likely than not the Democrats win back the House come 2026, keeping on track the way parties not in charge usually do in the midterm elections, especially factoring in it will be the midterm election in the president's second term. Then usually the off-year party does very well, like Republicans did in 2014. In that midterm, like Democrats did in 2006, the off party usually does very well in the president's second midterm. So from that standpoint alone, the Democrats should probably win back the House. Even if it's only by like 3 or 4 seats, the Democrats should have enough to win back the House. But if the Democrats don't gerrymander or redistrict their maps at all, and the Republicans are able to redistrict and gerrymander in Texas, Ohio, Florida, and maybe Missouri, the Republicans may have a very narrow path in doing that point where they'd be essentially changing around 10 to 15 House seats. They would then have a credible path to potentially holding on to the House majority. But again, if the Republicans did that, I don't think the Democrats would just let that happen without trying to redistrict their own maps to try and stop the Republicans from getting the majority that way. So it's all a convoluted mess. There's going to be a lot of legal questions and probably states and state parties suing each other over whether or not this is allowed, whether this is constitutional. And to be completely honest with you, I really don't know how this is all going to play out, which states can do it, which states can't, if any can do it or any can't. We'll have to wait and see how this all goes. It's going to be a very messy process. But as of today, I think the Democrats are more likely than not going to keep the House if no redistricting happens. If redistricting happens, everything's kind of out the window, and we have to wait and see how the new maps are redrawn, because that could have a very drastic impact on which party holds the House come 2026. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. If you did, make sure to leave a comment below telling me what you think of this video and who you think is going to win the House come 2026 and what your thoughts are on the redistricting and how that could all go come 2026. Also, if you have anything I talked about in this video that you're confused on, you have any questions, you want more clarity from me, or if you have anything you want to add to anything I've said in this video, please feel free to leave it down below. I always check out the comments, so certainly I'll be reading everything you leave down there. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe, as I post 3 new videos every day that you're not going to want to miss. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.